So I had done a repost on, parents who desire for their children to pay them rent. There is this notion that children could only be successful. They won't be deadbeats if you charge them rent as soon as they start making money. And I'm here to tell you that it's not doing your child any justice by thinking that way. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. This commenter says, parents are allowing their child the opportunity to create a consistent habit of saving their money when they allow their child to stay with them without charging them rent. They're learning different investment strategies. Teaching them to save their income is a skill that will benefit them for the rest of their lives. Thank you so much for saying that, because, there's so many parents that want to argue, like, oh, if I don't charge them money for rent and food and all this other kind of stuff, then my child will not learn about finances. They're not going to be successful, or they're going to be a deadbeat. Some sort of rhetoric to that is what I've gotten, and I've done this post several times over the years. I think number one, that's not a good way to look at your child, because it's almost like you're setting them up for failure. They must meet this they must meet this criteria, or they're a loser, or they're bad with money. That's kind of, it's all or nothing type of thinking. Either you're this or you're that. Versus when that child turns 16, 17, or 18, whenever they get their first job and they start making money, hopefully by the time your child is of a certain age to start making money, you have already taught your child about financial values, the importance of saving, what spending looks like, about credit card, literacy, all of those things. Hopefully by the time they get of age, you have already sort of instilled those lessons, because hopefully before they've even gotten to the age of getting their first job, they will have already had access to money, either through their allowance, either through Christmas or birthday money or things like that. So hopefully you should have been teaching them about money and how to manage finances and, things like that before they even get to the age of where they're earning their job. That's number one. Number two, and I've said that a number of times, but number two, again, before your child gets their first job, hopefully you believe in your child. Hopefully you think your child is smart, that your child can make good decisions, and that you are proud of your child. And that you feel like your child can kind of go forth and continue to prosper. And I say that because a lot of the pushback has been, well, again, I don't want my child to be a deadbeat. I don't want my child to be irresponsible, or, just fail at life. Again, you should be teaching your child life lessons as it goes on. And again, even you should be modeling appropriate behavior as life goes on. And number three, there's a lot of chitter chatter about, well, I had to do it, this and that, the other, so free will is a thing. You can choose to stop intergenerational cycles, financial cycles that are based out of trauma and that keep, families stuck. So that is your choice to do that. So you have the choice to say, you know what, I'm going to do things differently. Everybody has free will to be able to do that. So I'm putting that out there. What I'm hearing through that rhetoric is because I was traumatized and because I'm resentful of what I had to go through, then I must also pass the torch on to my child as though this is a rite of passage and they've got to suffer just like I did, and they better smile and eat it up, because I don't give a shit how they feel any other way, and that's just how it's going to be. that's really negative, and that's setting things up in a way to where that builds distrust, maybe even creates some resentment and things of that nature, by that sort of thinking that, like, it's almost like a contest, of sorts, like they have to suffer just like I did. No, they don't. Really, they don't. And you have the power to create change when it comes to things like that. Number four, I think, there's talks. I'm still helping my parents out. I'm still doing this, and so my child's got to do it too. And I'm elderly, or I'm within a relationship with a partner that's not paying, and all this other kind of stuff, right? Like I need the money, So then we come back to I need the money. Again, that's not your child's responsibility. Your choices are your choices. Be an adult and take responsibility for your choices instead of blaming everybody else and wanting to make your child pay for your decisions, because that's also some of what I'm hearing too. Like, I raised the child, I had them, and blah 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 blah. That's the least they could do. That was your decision. It is not. It should not be something seen as punitive. Well, I decided to get pregnant and have a baby and raise a child for 18 years. Now I'm you owe me something. You have to pay the piper now, so you need to give on back to your parents. If your child wants to do that of their own free volition, sure, by all means, whatever. But to force them and say it with contempt, like, I had you, it was tough, it wasn't a great experience, so now you need to pay me back for all of my years of pain and suffering. And again, we're going back to, well, they got to give me money to prove that they're responsible. Again, by the time a child is 16, 17, and 18, they should have already shown you that they are responsible and that they are, committed to success, going through school, passing their classes, participating in sports, watching, taking time out to do their chores, watch their siblings, do the things that children are supposed to do. They should have shown you responsibility. There's a number of ways that responsibility can be shown. Them turning over their paycheck is a control tactic. And, so the other thing too is there's also, you want, on one hand, you want the child to be an adult, but on the other hand, you want them to still be in a child's place. So you want them to go out and earn money, but then you want to also stay in a child's place and give you their money. And a lot of times, by allowing them to stay with you, conditions also come with that. Curfew, they can't have people over. They also got to buy food, or they can't eat food. So there's still a lot of rules and regulations that kind of go along with that. They're not part owner of the home either. Their name isn't on the deed. So they're literally paying you. And sorry, a parent-child relationship is not a tenant-landlord relationship. There's also the idea that, like, in order for my child to be successful, they must be grinding 24/7 and then paying it back to me. Rest is also productivity. Children don't need to be, a 24/7 workhorse all the time in order to be successful and then turning over their money. But also, too, again, learning to save, creating consistent habits of saving money, again, investing, learning about how to, buy property, or, travel and create experiences and things like that. All of those things are ways in which you can teach your children about money, in which your child can also be successful. If your child is older and they're still living at home and you feel like they have to prove their worth or their success to you, especially like in the 20s and, things like that, like, you have to ask yourself, is there anything that they can do to to be successful in my eyes, or am I just raising the bar?